Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Kelly and there's Oliver. For today's video, I'm going to be doing my October reading wrap up. I read 10 books this month. I actually had an amazing reading month, and 3 out of those 10 books were 5-star reads, which is pretty crazy. I don't think I've ever had a month where I've had 3 5-star reads. I'm pretty sure. I don't think that's happened to me yet. So it was an amazing reading month, and let's just get right into it. So the first book of the month was a 5-star read. I started this a couple days before October, but I finished it in October. So this book is the 4th book in the Chestnut Springs series. You are following Winter and Theo. Winter is Summer from the first book's sister. My cat is going nuts. This is going to be a fun video. Chaotic video probably, but yeah, Winter is Summer's sister, and then Theo is friends with Rhett, and Rhett would like train Theo in bull riding, so they're friends. And I didn't know if I would end up loving this book because it is surprise pregnancy. It's on the book, so that's not a spoiler, but it's not that I don't like pregnancy trope books. I don't mind them, but like I don't go like searching for them, so it's kind of iffy if I would love this book. But this book is my favorite in the whole entire series. I think it, yeah, definitely overpassed Heartless, which I'm pretty sure was also a 5-star. If not, it was like 4.75. But this book, 5 stars, infinity stars. I am Winter. Winter is me. I don't know. I just related so much to her character. And her relationship with Theo. Theo is just amazing. He was always there for her, and just the things that he did for her just made me melt. I was kicking my feet giggling reading this book. I absolutely loved it, and it was one of those books where I wasn't like checking to see how many pages I have left, like where's my progress in the book. I was just having an amazing time reading this book, and I was sad when it was over. So yeah, I gave it 5 stars. Winter and Theo is my favorite couple, and Winter's my favorite girl by far. I love her character development that you get in this book, and you really just get to feel for her and like see what she's gone through, and I just loved it. I loved it so much. I already want to do a reread. I missed them already. So yeah, this was a 5-star read, and I'm super excited that I read this. Next, I wanted, like I told you guys in my, was it when I chose my reads, my TBR prompt video, I told you guys that I wanted to be in my fantasy era, so I read some good fantasies this month. I read Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This was one of the books that I picked in my TBR jar video. I think I ended up giving this book 3.75 stars. I wrote down all my ratings. Yeah. So I ended up giving this book 3.75 star rating just because, I'm not even kidding you guys, the first maybe like 150-ish pages were so slow, and I was so confused, and I ended up going on like I think TikTok or Twitter, not Twitter, TikTok or Instagram, and I wanted to see if like anybody else found this book confusing, and I actually found out that there is a trilogy that you have to read before these. Not have to, but like it makes you understand the world better. And I don't know about you guys, but I hate that you have to read a separate trilogy to have to read a different series. Like this is a duet. Like there are 2 books in this. So I don't know why like they just can't make it where you can read those 2 books and like fully understand it without having to read a different series, if that makes sense. Like there's also the Shadow and Bone trilogy that people say to read before 6 of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. And then there's another one, I think, as well, that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I just don't like that. Like I would just really like to be able to go into a book that's in a new series and not have to read a series before that, if that makes sense. So I gave it 3.75. I liked the characters in this book, and I liked the overall story of it. But the beginning was just so slow, and I kept telling myself, like, push through it. I'm not one to DNF a book unless, like, I absolutely hate it. Then I'll put it down. But the writing was beautiful. I did have some quotes in here that I really, really enjoyed. But yeah, I gave it 3.75 stars. I am going to read the second one maybe in November. We'll see. But I did like it. I liked the characters, and I liked the storyline. And the end of the book was crazy. So 3.75 stars for that book. And then I went into my Throne of Glass era this month. So I read Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight. So I gave Throne of Glass 4 stars. And I think I also gave, yeah, I gave both of these 4 stars. I don't want to say too much on this series because I just want you guys to go into this not really knowing much. All I'm going to say is you are following Selena, if that's how you say her name, and she is an assassin. And in this book, I can't really say what goes on in this one because it's a spoiler for what happens in this one. But there's kind of a competition that goes on in this book to compete to be the king's other, like, hand, basically. Right? Is that the way we say it? Oh, no. So, yeah. You would serve as the king's champion. That's the right word for it. So that's really all I want to say. I don't want to say anything else because I think it's perfect to just go into this not knowing much at all. But yeah, rated both of these 4 stars. So the next book that I read this month was Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This is the final book in the Chestnut Springs series. This book is following Bailey and Beau. And I was so excited going into this book. In all the other books, you get a glimpse of Beau, and I was the most excited for his book. And reading this was such a disappointment and such a letdown, you guys. I gave this book 3 stars. Only because, one, I love Elsie Silver's writing. Her writing is so easy to get through. I feel like I flew through this book. And because of Bailey. I really loved the FMC in this book. The things that she had to go through. And I just feel like she was so strong. And she was so funny also and quirky. And I loved that. But I don't want to say too much if you haven't read it yet. But all I want to say is that what really annoyed me is, like I said, we got glimpses of Beau in the other books, right? I feel like his story was not the same Beau that we were getting in the other people's books. Like, I feel like this was just a completely different Beau, if that makes sense. So, I don't know. I just didn't like his character. Just the way that he would describe Bailey was kind of just creepy. And then we all know in the Chestnut Springs series that the guy has a nickname for the girl. And his nickname that he calls her just gave me a major ick. I'm not even kidding you. I was really hoping that he would change her nickname throughout the book, and he didn't. And every time he called her it, I hated it. I hated the nickname. And yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like his character, and I didn't like how different it was from what we were seeing in the other books. And we didn't really get to see his trauma and, like, him getting through it on his own. Like, even, like, going to therapy or something. Like, we didn't get to see any of that stuff. And I don't know how to explain it. There's just a lot going into this that I was expecting, and it just did not meet my expectations at all. There was something else I wanted to bring up, and I can't remember what it was. But yeah, I gave this book 3 stars. Oh, I remember now. So if you guys have read any of the books in the Chestnut Springs series, you know that. So yeah, the book is mainly focused on whichever couple it is. So we got the first book, which is Summer and Rhett. The second book is Kate and Willa. The third book is Jasper and Sloane. The fourth book is Theo and Winter. And then the 5th book is Beau and Bailey. But in the couples books, you always get the family, like everyone's always in the books. Whether they're having dinner together or at the bar or whatever it is, they're just having conversations, and it's just such a great found family. It's one of the reasons that I love this series so much, is the found family in it. And I just feel like there was no found family in this book. Like, you didn't really get to see Beau with any of the other characters besides Winter. There was a couple of scenes with him and Winter. But besides that, you didn't really see him and Jasper much at all. You didn't get to see, like, them really having any family dinners or anything besides the end. And this is supposed to be the last book in the series. So you would think, like, there would be more of all the characters together, and there just wasn't that. And I understand that the book is mainly focused on the couple, which I get. But, I don't know, it just didn't feel like a Chestnut Springs book. It just felt like a completely different book from a different series with, like, the same characters, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm going on a tangent on this book. I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite. I just think I overhyped it, and it just didn't meet my expectations. Then I went into Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and I was so excited to read this book because Sarah Crowley has nothing but good things to say about this book, so I was so excited, and I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I think at this time right now, this is my favorite fantasy book that I have ever read, and this is actually Lauren Roberts' debut novel. And as I'm reading this, I was just so shook because her writing is so beautiful. I'm like, how is this her first book that she's ever written? I loved the storyline. I loved Kai and Peyton. The story was just so good. So basically you are following, like I just said, Kai and Peyton, and so there are elites and there are ordinaries, and the elites basically... Oliver! Sorry about that. So like I said, there are elites and there are ordinaries, and the elites basically banned the ordinaries, which elites have powers and then ordinaries don't. They're just like normal humans. And so they end up basically banning all ordinaries, and there is Kai, which he kills ordinaries. So basically they're trying to wipe out all the ordinaries so it's only an elite world. And there is this competition that takes place that Peyton and Kai are competing in together, and Peyton is an ordinary and Kai kills ordinaries, but he has no idea. He thinks she's an elite, and the story just goes from there. And the amount of things I tapped in this book, I loved it so much. I loved Kai, I loved Peyton, I loved the story. Kai is definitely one of my new favorite book boyfriends. I loved this book so much, and I cannot wait for the second one. This is supposed to be a trilogy. The second one comes out in May, I believe, of next year, so you have a while to read this, and I definitely recommend this book. If there is one book in this video that I would recommend to you, it's this book. And even if you are not into fantasy books, I feel like this is more heavy on the romance than it is fantasy, and I feel like it's very easy ish to understand. No, it's pretty easy to understand. But yeah, there's more romance in it, so I think even if you don't read fantasy, you would really enjoy this book. So next I continued on with the Throne of Glass series. So I read The Assassin's Blade. So this is basically 5 novellas, and there is a lot of discourse on whether you should read Assassin's Blade before Throne of Glass, or if you should read it. Some people read it after Crown of Midnight, which is what I did, and then some people read it after Heir of Fire. So those are like the main reading orders, but people are always like, no, you should read it first, or no, you should read it third, whichever. I feel like if you do your research and you like listen to people who say why they think you should read it first and why they think you should read it third, then you can kind of say to yourself which one you prefer if you listen to like both those people talk. And I did, and I don't know, I just decided to read it third. And right now in this moment where I'm at in the Throne of Glass series, I am happy with the way that I decided to read this. I feel like if I would have picked up The Assassin's Blade first, I just wouldn't have been into this book. And this is like back in time, if that makes sense. So where you start in Throne of Glass, this already happened. All the stuff in this book already happens by the time you get into Throne of Glass. So if you're not a fan of like reading something happen and then go back in time and find out anything else that happened, I would recommend reading this first. But if you don't mind doing that, then I would definitely recommend reading it third. I don't know if I made any sense there, or if you're just like confused by whatever I just said. I'm sorry, I tried to explain it the best that I could. But yeah, just whichever way you prefer, it's fine. I don't feel like there should be that much. Like I see people like, this is the wrong way, this is the right way. There's really no wrong or right way. It's just whichever way you feel more comfortable reading the series. And I'm actually currently reading Heir of Fire, which is the next book in the series. I'm only on page 166. So I'm trudging my way through this book, and I'm loving the series so much. The female main character is probably going to be one of my favorite characters of all time in fantasies, and even just overall. I love her so much, and I'm just really enjoying these books a lot, so I'm excited to continue on. Alright, so next I read A Curse for True Love. This is the final book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. And can we take a moment for this book? Hold on. Look how beautiful she is without the dust jacket. The dust jacket is beautiful, but look how stunning she is. And then like the gold. Oh, I don't know. I feel like maroon and gold are beautiful together. So yeah, I love this book. I gave this book 5 stars. I don't know. It's hard for me to say what is my favorite book in the trilogy between this one and the second one. Guys, I loved the second one so much. And the cliffhanger that the second one left me on had me reeling for days. So it's really hard for me to say which one I liked better because I gave them both 5 stars. But I loved the ending, and it just leaves so much up to your imagination. I think that's one of the things that I love the most about Stephanie Garber. Her writing is so magical and beautiful, and I can't say much about this book because it is the last book in a series, so I don't want to spoil it, but I definitely recommend reading this trilogy. But she leaves a lot up to your imagination. There are some things that weren't really answered from the second book to this one, which I feel like is done on purpose because I feel like she wants you to kind of be able to come up with that reasoning of what happened on your own. But I loved it so much. I love Jax so much. He had me feeling everything in this book. I cried, I laughed, such a good time. 5 stars. Alright, next I read, why did that sound so weird? Can I talk? When in Rome, Sarah Adams. So you are following Amelia and Noah, and Amelia is basically a huge pop star and she ends up needing a break, so she is obsessed with Audrey Hepburn, and there's the movie that she's in where she ends up leaving and going to Rome, and she can't really go necessarily to Rome itself, so she Googles Rome and sees like where there's like a Rome near her, and Rome, Kentucky was close to her, so she packs up and drives there and then ends up getting stuck in front of Noah's house, and he comes out to try and help her, and she's kind of like, I don't know, she's just quirky, and then she ends up staying with him for the night, and then he's basically like wanting her out of there, and they just have very different lives, but the way you see them come together and their relationship was so cute. It was such a short read. It's like 302 pages. I loved it. I gave it 3 stars. It was a cute rom-com. It was a cute rom-com, and I really enjoyed it. 3 stars. So the final book that I read, oh, I gave that 3.5 stars. See, apparently I don't even know my own ratings. That's why I wrote them down. So last I read The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, and I'm really stuck on my rating for this book because the plot twist in this book just, especially like 3/4 of the way towards the end, it was just plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, and you thought the plot twists were done, so you were just reading to like finish off how the book would end. Boom, another plot twist. It was crazy, and I thoroughly did enjoy reading this book. It's just the first little bit just kind of bored me, and I was just kind of like trudging through, and this is one of those books where you don't really like any of the characters. Like, they're all kind of annoying, if that makes sense, but it's done for a reason, I feel like, and I really enjoyed it. It was just a good quick read. It wasn't that long either. It was like 340 something pages. And I read this close to Halloween, so it was just like a nice little thriller. I can't really say too much on this, but you're basically following, I don't even remember her name. And it's, I haven't, when did I finish this? Okay, I finished this book on the 29th. It's the 1st. I don't remember her name. Let me see if it tells me. Her name is Casey. So she is a recent widow, and she ends up going back to their lake house. I don't want to say why because I don't know if it's a spoiler. Okay. So yeah, she is trying to escape bad press. So she goes up to her family's lake house, and she ends up watching this other lake house across the lake. And she's watching the couple in there, and then the wife ends up going missing, and she basically is trying to solve what happened to her. And just a lot goes on. Like I said, so many plot twists, especially like when the book was like, let me see if I can show you without Like, even when we had like this much left, look how little that is, there was a plot twist, like really close towards the end, which I was not expecting. Like, the way the book was starting to wrap up, I wasn't expecting it. But then when I was reading like the beginning parts of it, that's what I was expecting. So I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that gives away anything. It probably doesn't, but this book was crazy. So I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I was in between a 3.75 and a 4 stars. I think I'm just going to round it up to 4 stars because I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a nice thriller. I don't read thrillers too often. I did read a lot of Frida McFadden a couple months ago. But yeah, I'm more of like a romance and fantasy person than I am thriller. But I do like to read the occasional thriller every now and then. So yeah, those are the 10 books that I read in the month of October. I'm glad that that's over because I don't know if I know how to talk anymore. That was so chaotic. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Let me know down below your favorite read of the month, or any like TV shows or movies you were into this month, or anything fun that you did for Halloween. I didn't really do anything. I don't know why, but this was like the least Halloween, if that makes sense. Like, it just didn't feel like Halloween, and I wasn't like really in the Halloween spirit. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense, but I didn't really go out. I didn't dress up. So, but I hope you guys did. I hope you guys had a fun holiday and a safe holiday. And that's it for this video. I love you all. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.